Hello.
Hey, Rachel. So is it a picture of me that you see, or is it a picture of me with little kids?
Are you there?
Yeah, is the picture of me coming through?
Let's see. Okay, I want to welcome everyone here today. We're so glad to see faces and welcome friends to come to our Move Your Feet series for December. Our topic this month is gifts, and we are so excited. We got together the other day and just talked about all the gifts that we have this time of year that aren't the presents wrapped under the tree. And so to start us out today, we're going to turn the time over to Claire, and she's going to share with us.
Hi, everybody. So glad to have you here. Glad to be with you and glad to talk about gifts during this wonderful Christmas season. I'd like to share a little experience I had to emphasize the importance of a particular gift. I'd like to talk today about the gift of giving. Many years ago, I had just come from living abroad and accepted a teaching assignment in a small town in Idaho. I felt drawn there and accepted a first grade teaching assignment. So as I was there in that little town, it was a difficult situation. I didn't know anyone. I certainly didn't know my way around. I didn't know how to teach really because it was my first time. And so I had a lot of new things to try to learn, and it became hard, kind of confusing. I missed my family, who was far away. I missed my friends who were even further away, and I felt pretty alone. And as it became winter and darker and colder, I felt more alone and more isolated from the things that I loved and the people I cared about. It was during this time that on a November morning that I walked into my first grade classroom when I noticed that a number of students were gathered around a desk of a little boy in my classroom. Ronnie was sitting at his desk sobbing. I thought, oh my goodness, he's fallen, and I rushed over to his desk to find out what was going on. He looked up to me with his great big blue eyes and said, Miss Robinson, Sandy ain't coming to our house this year. I said, excuse me? Say that again? Sandy ain't coming to our house this year. Mom said since we moved, he doesn't know where we lived and he's not coming. And he folded over in sobbing again. As I stared kind of incredulously at him, and the rest of the kids chimed in that it was going to be a tough year at their house too. Kay particularly mentioned that her mother had lost her job, and the kids started to tell me that the potato factory that supported the economic core of the town had just closed its doors. So many of the families were suffering, and it looked like it was going to be a pretty bleak Christmas. One by one, I could see that this was affecting my little first graders in such a powerful way. But three little first graders in particular stood out to me. Ronnie, who I have just talked about. Kay, whose mother was a single mother with two little children, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And Maria. Maria, I could tell immediately. The weather was one of the coldest winters that Idaho had known, or that part of Idaho had known. It was well below freezing many days. And every day she would wear a little organza party dress to school, coming in just in the dress, hands and feet freezing. It would take me nearly an hour to get her warmed up to be able to function in the classroom. Yes, our economic times had really affected these kids. I worried about them. I stewed over them. I was a first-year teacher who was living paycheck from paycheck. I didn't know how I could make a Christmas happen for them. As I was belaboring over that, my roommate and a friend walked in and they said, "Claire, what's wrong?" And I finally opened up and told them what was happening to these children. We talked about possibilities and things that could be done, but we were all living paycheck to paycheck also. What could we do? The next day, I woke up to a doorbell ring. I went to the back door and there was the friend. She's rushed in and said, "You can't believe what happened." What? Back to the back door was pulled up a big truck with cases of food, clothes, and a big yellow Tonka truck. I said, "Where did you get this?" "Well, I told your story to my aunt who happens to own a store, and she just started loading up her truck, and this is what's at your back door." I couldn't believe it. I didn't know this woman, but yet out of the goodness of her heart, she sent some wonderful things to share with my little kids. I was looking at all of the things that were laying on our apartment floor when the doorbell rang again. I walked to the door and a woman was there. I didn't know who she was, but immediately she said, "I understand you're gathering things for your first graders, and I'm here to help." I didn't even know who she was. "Here," and handed me a number of things for these little children. Again and again and again, the doorbell rang and rang and rang through the night and rang into the next day and the next and the next. People coming to help my little first graders. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know the people in this town. I didn't know where and how all of the information got out. But the Lord did. And He knew that these little first graders needed some help. So as it caught time for us to leave, the doorbell rang one last time. And there, anonymously, leaning next to the door, was a Christmas tree, completely decorated. Lights, ornaments, everything. I knew who that was going to. So my roommate and I got together. We decided to deliver these things. We chose her car because it looked like Air Force One. And we decided to go and get on our road of taking care of these things. First, we went to Kay's house. Nobody was home. It was cold, dark, a little apartment. And so we took the Christmas tree and we wired it to her stairs and laid the toys and the clothes and the food next to her door. Kay's only desire for Christmas was to have a Christmas tree. The next person we went to was Maria. Maria's light was on, and she lived in a basement apartment. So very carefully, we tried to be so quiet as we snuck in the food and the clothes and the toys. And just as I was laying down the last package, the light flipped on. I nosedived into Air Force One and made my roommate dash off, laying on the seat of her car, trying to gasp for breath because I knocked the wind out of myself. I giggled. This was the best Christmas ever. We were so excited and happy, imagining what was taking place at Maria's house. The last house we went to wasn't a house, but a motel. Donnie's family of 8 had already lost their house in this economic crisis and were living in a shack behind a motel in the town. There was no way, as we looked at the shack, that we could sneak up on it and deliver things. So we went to the front door of the motel and walked in to the apartment managers. There was a little elderly lady sitting there, smoking her way through watching a television program. She looked up. Yeah, what do you want? Well, we told her what we wanted, told her that we had brought things for Donnie and his family, and wondered if we could leave them with her, because it was really imperative that I not get discovered in doing this. She stood it looking at us with her mouth open. You're kidding, right? No, we brought a lot of things. Could we leave them with you? Yeah, bring them on in. Little bit by little bit, we completely covered the floor of where she was living. Tonka truck, food, turkey, ham, everything that went with it, clothes for all 8 children, everything. As we finished up with the last box, she sat in her rocking chair, tears streaming down her face, and said, I didn't think there was any joy or love left in the world. I didn't think anybody would be kind anymore to anyone else, that was a thing of the past. I can't believe that somebody would do this. And I looked at her and I said, this isn't me, and this isn't my roommate. We just are delivering. This comes from the people of this little town. And the tears flowed freely. We didn't think anything more about it. We each left for our prospective homes to be with our families. And then it was the first day back after Christmas. I walked into my classroom, got things going, sat down at my desk, and Donnie burst through the door. Miss Robinson, you can't believe the story I have to tell to you. Well, what's gone on? What happened? Oh, Fanny found us. Kind of found us. He's kind of confused. I think he's getting older, but he went to our manager's house, the landlady, and he dropped all the gifts off there. When we went to pick him up, it was kind of weird though, because she was crying. Felt kind of bad. I asked her if she'd like to share some of our stuff. We have plenty here. Would you like some stuff? And she just kept saying she'd already gotten her Christmas present. I don't understand that, but he ran off to play. Next in was Kay. Kay sauntered up to my desk with this impish smile on her face, looked at me and said, Santa's weird, Miss Robinson. I said, Santa's weird? What makes you say that? Or maybe he's too fat. He just didn't even come in our house. He left everything outside the door. But you know what I got? I said, what did you get? I got a Christmas tree. And she ran off to play. The next person in was Maria. Oh my goodness. In she came, clad with a stocking hat, mittens, boots, and a wonderful warm coat. She walked up to my desk and I said, oh, don't you look fancy? She just smiled. I knew it had been a good Christmas for her. But it had been the best Christmas for me. That was 41 years ago. And I still smile about that Christmas. I still declare it as my best Christmas ever, because it taught me about the gift of giving. When we give, we receive. And I received so much from that experience. I received so much love, so much peace, and so much joy. I hope this season you have the chance to give also. Have a Merry Christmas. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Claire. I love that. I've heard that story and I just still get teary-eyed every time I hear it because it's such a good story. And I love the kids' reactions, and all of that just adds to it. And so I want to share with you guys a little bit about gifts too. And when you discover your gifts, because everyone has them, even if you don't think you do, and you share your gifts, you bless others. Now, when you bless others with your gifts and share your gifts, you actually discover more gifts. So it's a never-ending cycle because you are just blessed, and you will develop more gifts as you share your gifts and you bless lives. So I too want to start with a story, and I've referred to it as last summer, but I don't know if you're like me. It's really like 2 summers ago, because we all just skipped the whole year where we all just like sat inside. So I'm always like, last summer, and then I have to stop and go, oh no, the last real summer we had, you know, when we could go out and have summer. So it was really 2 summers ago. I had gone to this retreat up in Bear Lake with some other women, and I was coming back from the retreat, and I needed a ride back to my house. And so I caught a ride with these 2 girls that were from Vegas, because they were going to come down, pass by where I live, and head on to Vegas. So I got ride with these 2 girls, and their names were Megan and Nadine. And Megan, she's from Canada, and she had come to Utah to go to college. And so on her way home, she was like, hey, can we stop off in Logan? Because I have a dear college friend that hasn't been doing well, and I haven't seen her forever, and I don't travel by this way that much. So can we just like stop and visit my friend? And so we said, sure. I mean, you know, what else are you going to do when that's your ride too? It's like, of course, like I'm getting a ride, so let's stop and visit your friend. So we came down the canyon, stopped and visited her friend. This friend had been having a really rough time. She had a husband that had a lot of health issues, and so he wasn't able to work, and they were struggling. And then on top of it, she was struggling with some severe depression. And I'm sure the situation with her husband like emphasized more and made her situation worse, and so she just was not doing good. So we stopped and went up to her house, went inside, and Megan had a daughter that was getting married in a couple months, and this friend was like, oh, I really want to help you with the wedding. So they also wanted to discuss some wedding things. And honestly, I can remember that visit vividly, but I cannot remember the girl's name. I was like, I just can't remember the girl's name. So this friend that we went to visit, we sat down. She had a wonderful home. We sat down in her family room and we just visited. And over this hour we visited, we talked about her husband. We talked about her. We talked about her kids. We talked about health. We talked about the wedding and all the fun wedding plans. And she was going to come down to St. George and help with this wedding and everything. And I didn't think of anything of it. We just all visited, and it was a great visit, and she kind of cheered her friend up a little bit, and you know, and sometimes just visiting does that because you have that interaction. And when the visit was over, we all said our goodbyes. We gave each other hugs to our new friends. You know, back in the day, it was when we used to hug people, you know, and I'm like, oh, you know, so I gave her a hug and was so glad I met her and everything. And then we went out the door to leave. And as we got outside, before we got in the car, like Megan stopped in front of me and like kind of stopped me. And she goes, I have to tell you something. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know if you're like me. The first thing that goes through your mind is like, oh my gosh, what did I say? What did I do? Like, obviously I said something that probably offended her or the friend. So I was like, okay. And she looked me in the eyes and she said, you have a gift of talking to people, and you talked to my friend as if you had been friends forever, and you just sat and visited with her as if like you had known her forever, you know. And when she told me this, the first thing that I thought was like, well, of course I just sat and talked to her. That's what you do. Like, you visit with people. And it kind of caught me off guard that she had paid attention to that she like recognized that and then like said something to me, because even if sometimes you notice things, you don't like say them to people. And then the second thing I realized is I was like, oh yeah, Nadine was there too. And she kind of just sat there the whole time, didn't say much. And so then I was like, oh yeah, like I did kind of talk more than Nadine. And then third, I never thought that like being able to talk to people was really like a gift, and that Megan had pointed that out to me, and that she had said, that's a gift. And I was like, wow, like I never thought of that. Like I just talk to people and that's kind of something I do. And so most people, they never look at themselves and think of their gifts, because a lot of times it's things you do every day. And it's things you do that in your mind, you're like, well, that's common sense, right? Like everyone just talks to everybody and, you know, conversation, or everybody just does this, or everybody just does that. And everybody does that good, right? Like, and so you don't recognize it because we never look at ourselves in a positive light. People tend to have that negative talk that goes on in their brain all the time. And so we never think of those things as gifts. Or we think of things like, well, nobody would want to hear what I have to say or what I can do. Like, I'm not as important as so-and-so, or I can't do it as well as so-and-so. But reality is we're all very wrong, because really these are our gifts. And if we could look ourselves the way that other people see us, those gifts would shine even brighter. Because I know that you all know people and you're like, oh, they do this so well and they do this so well, but if you talk to them, they're like, oh, I don't do that good, you know? And so other people can actually see our gifts better than we can, because we don't think they're gifts. And so you have to discover those gifts. And, you know, if you're one of those people that's like, but how do you discover them? Like, how do you really know what's a gift and what's not a gift? I want to encourage you to go out and serve, because if you made a conscious decision to go out and serve, you would probably pick an area to serve in something that you do well or you like to do. So if you're somebody that's like, I love nature, I connect to the earth, maybe you would pick to serve and like pull weeds at somebody's house or a nursing home or something like that, because then you're connecting to the earth and that's something that you love to do. If you're somebody that loves to be around people, you might choose to serve in a way where you're interacting with people. And so think of, okay, if I were to go serve, what would I like to do? How would I like to help people? And that can kind of help you like discover some of those gifts, because you can see where your interests are and what you would like to do. And right now in our world, like service is kind of limited because we can't go out and do it as much as in the past. So if you can't do it, think of ways that you would want to do it. And that when the world opens back, oh, this is going to be the first thing that I want to go help someone do. I want to do this. I want to help this, because that will probably tell you where your gifts are hiding, like where you can discover them, because that's something that you're interested in. Another way that you can find your gifts is find 3 people, like 3 really, really good friends that know you well. Because if you ask just 3 people, they'll probably just compliment you, you know, give you good compliments. But if you ask 3 people that know you really well, they'll be like, you're really good talking to people. You know, you're really good at this. You're a beautiful piano player. Like you have a way to just shine bright and smile at everybody. Like they will know the deep part of your soul, and they will be able to help you find those gifts. And then when you discover those gifts, don't hide them. Don't hide them, because the more you hide them, the more they can dwindle down. You want to use them and share them and bless other people's lives, and then those gifts will develop into other gifts. And so use those to serve or help others or to contribute to society in a good way, because God only made one of you, and He put you on this earth for a purpose. And He gave you those gifts to help you with that purpose and to be your best self and to help others. And there are things that only you can do because you're you and you have those special gifts. And so just remember that as you move forward, you move your feet forward, you step out of your comfort zone, you discover those gifts, you bless other people's lives, you share them, and as you share them and bless more lives, you'll discover more gifts. And I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and end that for me. And now I will pass you off to Patty. We get to hear from Patty now.
Thanks, Rachel. That was awesome. I really love hearing what you guys have to say. I always learn so much. Thank you for joining us, you guys. This season is one of gift giving and receiving. So today, take your amazing and build upon it. Growing and progressing feels so good. You have goals and dreams that are in sight, but sometimes there are stumbling blocks or stones that can actually keep us from moving forward. And so today I share gifts that will power you in the gift of forgiveness. You can be free of the heavy stones in this pack. They can disguise themselves as pain, animosity, grudges, darkness, nagging, or even like a negative state of mind. And when we get rid of these stones, we can actually move our feet forward in faith. And so this is really good news. Christ's grace can bless us with the gift of freedom, with a forgiving heart. And so that is the gift that I want to share today. It was over 2.5 decades ago, as a young new wife and a mother, I experienced what could have been my darkest hour. My husband abandoned me after severe betrayal. And so throwing the stones away in my pack made it possible for me to move on in confidence and to know with conviction, the Lord will take care of me and my babies, and my forgiving heart allowed me to feel light and joy. So figuratively speaking, it's important to identify that whether you were pushed and you were slammed to the ground, or you tripped and you fell hard, the Savior's infinite atoning sacrifice has the power to lift you up, brush you off, heal you, and then you can move on. Being pushed and slammed hard is when someone hurts you. It's when you perhaps need to forgive them. But tripping is different. It's when you can't seem to forgive yourself. Forgiving others or forgiving yourself is emptying your pack of rocks. So first, let's say someone pushed and slammed you hard. Know that by you forgiving them, it does not condone or make right their action. It only makes you stronger and it sets you free. Nelson Mandela said, not forgiving someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. What they did is wrong. Let them carry their own rocks. You do not have to carry them any longer. And the second, don't wait for them to come repenting before you forgive. Don't carry their rocks, waiting for them to come. Let go of them owning you. Once you forgive them, they don't own you anymore. And even though I try to do the very best I can as a mom, I have 13 children, we have a big family, and raising my children, and I wish that looking back through the years, I wish that I would have done some things differently. So when we have Sunday dinners or the married kids come over and we sit around and visit, sometimes my adult children talk and hopefully laugh about some of the memories from the past. And I'm the first to say, oh, I am so sorry. So today, start moving forward. Sorry, my phone is going off. Maybe your efforts have been strengthened in forgiving others who have slammed you hard, but you fail to find the power to forgive yourself. So you've tripped. Guess what? We've all tripped. When you've taken the proper steps to repair your past, move your feet forward in faith. Guilt is a wasted emotion. As we progress and grow, we can gently speak to our own heart. Had I known better, I would have done better. Do not allow the judgments of others or self-defeating thoughts to keep you in the mud. Look up, reach out, and imagine how it feels to walk without all those rocks. So whether you have tripped and have a bruise that can't seem to heal, or you've been pushed hard to the ground and you're lying in the mud, it's time to accept the gift of a healed heart and greater light through the grace of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Rise up, moving your feet forward, and accept the gift of forgiveness. Thanks, you guys, for being with us. We'll see you next month.
Thank you. I love that, Patty. That was so awesome. I love hearing everybody talk each month, and it just lifts my soul so much. Now, I want everyone on here to know that we do have a Facebook group. It's called Soul Improvement, S-O-L-E, for the sole of your feet, because we're Move Your Feet Forward. Okay, that you can join anytime, and then we post like when we're going to have these each month, and you can hop on. Our next one will be January 14th. We always do them the second Thursday of every month. So January 14th at 10 a.m. And you're free to welcome everybody. And you're also free to reach out to anybody who invited you. Like if you're like, oh, I want to learn more on forgiveness and I need Patty to help me with that, like reach out and we can connect you with Patty. If it's like, oh, I want to discover more of my gifts or learn more ways to serve, like don't feel bad if you want to reach out to us, because we're here to help you and we want to just keep brightening everybody's day and helping everybody move forward in faith. So to close out, I want you just to remember, discover those gifts, serve others, forgive, and that helps you move forward in faith this Christmas season. And I want to wish everybody a Merry, Merry Christmas.